She laughed. Right there. While I was still holding the ring. It wasn't a cruel laugh. That would have made more sense. It was worse. It was soft, almost sympathetic. Like someone trying to ease the pain after stabbing you without warning. And then she said it. This is not the time for that. Not the time. I was standing in the hallway of our home. Our home. With rose petals under my feet. Our daughter's drawings taped proudly on the fridge behind me. And a tiny velvet box in my hand that had sat in my closet for 6 months. I thought maybe, just maybe, reproposing would spark something again. Bring her back to me. But she wasn't wearing her wedding ring. Hadn't been for weeks. And her phone lit up just as I knelt down. The name on the screen? Darren, work? Yeah, sure. She didn't pick it up. Didn't have to. I'd already seen enough the night before. You ever sit in your own car in your own driveway because you can't face walking inside? That was me last night. I waited out there until 1:34 a.m. until I finally saw headlights. She got out of his car, adjusted her blouse in the side mirror, and smiled. That smile used to be mine. She never even noticed me parked behind the neighbor's mailbox. She just walked inside like she hadn't just erased 12 years in the space of one Uber ride. But this morning, I still went through with the plan. I still set everything up. Because I'm pathetic. Because I thought maybe, if I showed her I still believed in us, she'd come clean. She'd break down. She'd beg for forgiveness. We'd cry. Rebuild. Heal. Instead, she laughed. Like I was offering her a forgotten jacket from last season. Then she walked past me. No tears. No guilt. No explanation. Just that same scent on her neck. Expensive, masculine, and unfamiliar. And before leaving for work, she turned around and said, "We'll talk tonight. Don't spiral, okay? Don't spiral." She said it like I was the problem. Like I was the one who broke something. So here I am, sitting on the kitchen floor, staring at the ring still in my hand. The petals look ridiculous now, like confetti after a funeral. And all I keep hearing in my head is what she said when I finally confronted her last week. When I showed her the texts I wasn't supposed to see, the blurred selfie of her in someone else's apartment, the Uber receipt she didn't realize synced to our shared email. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "It was just a meaningless mistake. One night shouldn't destroy our family." But here's what she doesn't understand. That night didn't just destroy our family. It destroyed me. And I'm still pretending it didn't. She made pancakes this morning. I don't think you understand how insane that is. Marcy hasn't made pancakes in over 3 years. Not since her clean eating phase kicked in and she started lecturing me about glycemic indexes and inflammatory carbs. But there she was, flipping banana oat pancakes with a smile like a sitcom mom, as if last night's awkward silence never happened. As if she hadn't laughed in my face while I held out a ring like a desperate idiot. I didn't eat. I couldn't. She put a plate in front of me and kissed the top of my head like everything was fine, like we were fine. And maybe to anyone else, we would look fine. Just a quirky couple in a warm kitchen, surrounded by breakfast smells and soft indie music playing off her phone. But I saw it. The way her eyes flicked to her phone every time it lit up. How she kept locking the screen before I could see the name. She even turned the phone face down. She never used to do that. And maybe I'm spiraling. Maybe she was right to say that. Maybe I am becoming obsessive. But how do you not obsess when your entire life feels like it's slipping through your fingers while the person holding the scissors keeps smiling at you? I watched her laugh with our daughter, braid her hair, pack her lunchbox like a Pinterest mom. It was almost theatrical. And I sat there, stone still, trying to remember if she had ever done that before. Not the laugh, not the braid, but the effort. I tried asking her about last night again. Calmly. I didn't raise my voice, didn't accuse her. Just said I wanted to understand. She looked up from tying Coralie's shoes and blinked slowly, like she was bored. "Nate, I already told you. It was one stupid night. It's over. And I'm here. I'm doing my part. I'm not leaving." But that's not what I asked. I didn't ask if she was leaving. I wanted to know if she was still in love with me. But the moment was already gone. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "Don't forget to water the ferns," before grabbing her laptop bag and heading out the door. And the worst part? She smelled like him again. That same clinging cologne, subtle but sharp. I'm not imagining it. I'm not. The door closed and the silence hit like a wave. I just stood in the kitchen for a long time, staring at the wall, wondering how I became this man. This awkward shadow that follows her around, still calling it love. So I did something I haven't done in a while. I opened the drawer where we keep the junk, batteries, old receipts, expired coupons, and pulled out her old iPad. She forgot it existed. I didn't. It was still logged into her cloud. I know I shouldn't have. I know how that sounds. But I needed to see something real. Anything that would make sense of the contradiction I was living in, a marriage full of cheerful sabotage. What I found: a deleted folder of photo backups. One dated 2 weeks ago. A series of blurry pictures, most of them random, meaningless. But one stopped my heart. It was her, taken from behind. Her hair in a messy bun, shirt half-buttoned, sitting on a hotel bed with her knees drawn up, and the reflection of a shirtless man holding a phone in the mirror behind her. Not posing, not smiling, just casual, comfortable, intimate. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't sorry about the affair. She was sorry I found out. That's the difference. And it changes everything. Because now, every smile is suspect. Every laugh is rehearsed. Every "I love you" is evidence in a case I didn't know I'd been building. And yet, I still haven't confronted her about the photo. Why? Because I'm afraid she'll say the same thing again. That it was meaningless. That I'm making too much of it. That I should think about our daughter, about the house, about all the good things we still have. But how do you weigh one night against 12 years? How do you balance a betrayal so casual it fits in a deleted album? I don't have an answer. I just know I keep hearing her voice in my head, over and over. It was just a meaningless mistake. One night shouldn't destroy our family. But maybe it already has. And maybe I'm the only one still pretending it didn't. I wish she'd just screamed at me, thrown a glass, slammed a door, accused me of snooping, of being paranoid, of suffocating her. At least then I'd know she still felt something. Instead, when I showed her the photo, the one with the mirror and the man and the bedsheets I've never seen in our house, she just sat down. Quietly. Not shocked. Not angry. Just tired. Like she had been waiting for this moment to arrive and was relieved that it finally had. Her voice didn't tremble. Her eyes didn't water. All she said was, "I told you, Nate. It wasn't supposed to be a thing." And that word, thing, it hit me harder than the image itself. Because how do you call something that intimate, that intentional, that soul-ripping, just a thing? I asked her who he was. She said it didn't matter. That it's over. That he's nobody now. But she said it with the tone people use when they're lying and just hoping you'll be too afraid to ask again. And I was terrified. Because if I found out who he was, if I saw his face, heard his voice, it would become real. Concrete. And I'm not sure I'm ready for that. So instead, I asked her why. Not in an angry way. Not yelling or pacing. Just quiet. Soft. I wanted to understand what I did wrong. I was begging, silently, for her to point at something I could fix. She didn't give me a list. Didn't say I was neglectful or cold or lazy. Instead, she sighed, looked down at her hands, and said, "I felt invisible." And he saw me. I don't even know how to describe the sound that came out of me. Not a cry. Not a scream. Something hollow. Like when a chair scrapes across tile in an empty room. Invisible? I built our whole damn world around her. I took on extra work so she could quit her job last year when she was burned out. I did the grocery runs, folded her laundry the way she liked, cleared the dishes after dinner even when my knees hurt from standing all day. I rubbed her temples during her migraines and memorized which shampoo to buy when she switched brands without telling me. She says she felt invisible, and I felt like a ghost hearing it. I didn't yell. I didn't insult her. I didn't throw anything. I just stood up and left the room because if I stayed, I was afraid I'd beg. And I've begged enough already. Later that night, she crawled into bed beside me like nothing had changed. Her body curled toward mine like it used to, but I stayed still. I kept my back to her and my eyes on the glowing red numbers of the alarm clock. 1:12 a.m., 1:46, 2:30. At some point, she reached out and placed her hand gently on my shoulder. I didn't flinch, but I didn't respond either. She whispered, "I still love you, Nate. I don't want this to ruin us." Ruin us? We were already ruined. We just hadn't said it out loud yet. I didn't sleep at all. Just laid there listening to her breath and wondering how much of the last few months had been lies. I started rewinding memories, analyzing them like crime scene footage. The girl's trip she took to Santa Fe, the yoga retreat she swore wasn't co-ed, that random necklace I saw once that she never wore again. You start pulling at a thread, and suddenly the whole sweater is unraveling in your hands. And what do you do when the person you built your entire identity around suddenly tells you, without telling you, that they don't even remember how they fell out of love with you. But here's the most messed up part. I still don't want to leave. There's something deeply broken inside me, because even after everything, even with the betrayal crawling under my skin like a virus, I keep hoping I'll wake up and find out it was all some twisted nightmare. That she'll cry, that she'll fight for me, that she'll say she's willing to burn the bridge that led her to him and rebuild the one that led to us. But instead, she makes pancakes and kisses me on the head and calls what happened a mistake. Like she dropped a glass, not a marriage. And every time I try to tell her how much it hurts, she just says the same thing. It was just one night, Nate. One night shouldn't destroy our family. But maybe it didn't destroy the family. Maybe it just destroyed me. And I'm the only one still pretending I can hold the pieces together. She asked me to smile. We were at the farmer's market last Saturday, walking through rows of overpriced fruit and handmade soaps. The sun was out. The air smelled like kettle corn and basil. She reached out, wrapped her arm around my waist, pulled me close, and said, "Smile with me, babe," like nothing had happened. Her phone was already out. She tapped the screen, and we posed in front of a stupid flower truck like one of those influencer couples who write joint captions. The whole time, all I could think about was how recently those same arms had been wrapped around someone else. How this smile would be posted to convince the world that our marriage was intact, unbroken, sweet, enviable. And I played along. I smiled. My jaw locked and my stomach twisted, and I smiled anyway. Because if I didn't, I knew she'd accuse me of ruining the mood. Because pretending has become part of my survival now. She posted it a few hours later with a heart emoji and the caption, "This man, this life, grateful." I wish I could say it shocked me, but it didn't. Marcy is smart. She understands optics. And ever since I confronted her, I've noticed she's been strategic. Texting more in front of me, but never showing what's on the screen. Saying, "Love you," louder than usual when hanging up calls. Initiating more affection. She even bought me a jacket, just randomly, like she used to years ago, and left it hanging in the hallway with a note that read, "Thought of you." She's overcompensating. Or maybe she's performing. And I'm still too pathetic to call her out. That night after the farmer's market, I sat in the garage with the door open, just watching the rain. Not doing anything. Not thinking. Just existing. She came out to check on me. Said I. The bedroom door was unlocked last night. It sounds like nothing, right? Just a door. But in our house, it meant something. Ever since the fight, she's been locking it when she showers. When she changes. When she sleeps. I never asked her to. She just started doing it. And I let her. I told myself it was space. That she needed time. That locking me out was better than leaving. But last night, it clicked open. And stayed that way. I stood outside the doorway for a solid 3 minutes, my hand hovering near the frame, debating whether stepping in would make me pathetic or hopeful. The light was off, but I could see the faint glow of her phone screen reflecting on the wall, blinking like a lighthouse warning lost ships not to come closer. I didn't go in. I slept on the couch again. Not because I was angry. That would have been easier to process. No, I stayed out there because something about that open door felt more dangerous than when it was closed. Like it was an invitation laced with guilt. Like she wanted me to crawl back in beside her so we could pretend this whole thing never happened. So she wouldn't have to say it again. That one line she keeps recycling, like it's some kind of legal defense. It was just a mistake. One night. It didn't mean anything. Except I don't think that's true anymore. I don't think it was one night. And I don't think it didn't mean anything. I found a receipt in her jacket pocket earlier that day. A stupid, crumpled receipt from a little Italian place near the west side. A place she and I used to love before we had Coralie, when we still held hands in public and laughed without thinking about bills or burnout. The date on the receipt was 2 Fridays ago. The name on the card used? His. Darren. Yeah, I finally got a name. She said he was nobody. That he was a co-worker she barely even spoke to. But that's a lie. I did some digging. Nothing illegal, just smart. I checked LinkedIn. Dug through mutual contacts. He's in her department. He transferred from out of state 6 months ago. Divorced. No kids. Likes CrossFit and makes weird motivational videos on Instagram that only get about 30 likes, half of which are probably from bots. But the worst part? I recognized his voice. A few weeks back, I walked into the kitchen while she was on the phone. She smiled awkwardly and ended the call fast, claiming it was a client call running long. I remember his voice even now, smooth, just a little too loud, too confident. The kind of voice that wears cologne and talks with its hands. Now I can't stop hearing it in my head. Him on the other side of the phone, telling her she deserves more, that she's glowing, that she's too smart to be stuck with a guy who folds towels in thirds and says, "I love you" too many times. I confronted her about the receipt. I didn't yell. I just handed it to her. She stared at it, then at me, and she had the nerve to say, "I didn't think you'd go through my pockets, Nate." No denial, no apology, just disappointment. Like I was the one who crossed a line. That's when I realized something that made my blood run cold. She's not sorry anymore. Not even pretending. She's just waiting. Waiting for me to either blow up so she can blame me for being unstable, or give up so she can say I abandoned the family, that I couldn't handle the work it takes to heal. But she doesn't understand the damage isn't loud. It's quiet. It's the kind that creeps into everything slowly until even your favorite songs feel like strangers. Tonight, I watched our daughter draw a picture of the three of us holding hands. She even put little hearts over our heads. Marcy smiled and said, "That's beautiful, baby," and I wanted to scream. Not because of the picture, but because of the performance. How long can someone pretend to be a wife and a mother while mentally packing a suitcase? How long can someone look you in the eye and still lie with their whole body? She left the bedroom door unlocked last night, and I think that was her way of saying she knows I know, and that she doesn't care anymore. She came home from the store like nothing was wrong. It was a Sunday afternoon, sky the color of wet cement, the kind of weather where every sound seems heavier. I was in the kitchen wiping down the counters I'd already wiped twice, just to keep my hands busy. Marcy walked in with 2 paper grocery bags and set them on the counter like she'd been living in a parallel universe where families didn't crack apart in slow motion. She smiled at me, that faint, rehearsed smile, and said she'd picked up my favorite coffee beans. She even touched my arm as she walked past, like we were just another normal couple on another normal Sunday. I almost believed it. Almost. While she went upstairs to put something away, I started unpacking the bags. And there, between the loaf of sourdough and the jar of pasta sauce, was a folded piece of paper. Not a receipt, not a shopping list. A note. A note with handwriting that definitely wasn't hers. It said, in quick, looping letters, "Wednesday night. Same place. Don't lose your nerve now." My heart started pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. It wasn't just the words, it was the carelessness of it. Like whoever wrote it had no fear of being found. Like they already thought they'd won. I stood there for what felt like hours, holding the note in one hand and the bread in the other, trying to figure out if I should march upstairs and demand an explanation or if I should play it cool and wait. I chose waiting. I'm good at waiting. Waiting is what got me into this mess in the first place. Waiting for her to talk. Waiting for her to come back to me. Waiting for something that was never coming back. When she came down again, she was humming. She asked if I'd mind starting dinner so she could shower. Her tone was so light, so practiced, it made me dizzy. I asked her, straight-faced, what she was doing Wednesday night. She didn't even blink. "Book club," she said. She doesn't belong to a book club. I know every one of her friends, and none of them read the same book at the same time. It was such a lazy lie that it almost felt like a dare. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I made a decision right then, holding that note behind my back while she smiled at me. I was going to find out for myself. No more guessing, no more snooping through old devices, no more piecing together scraps of evidence like a crime show. I'd go to that place on Wednesday night. I'd see it with my own eyes. And whatever I saw would finally tell me who I was married to. The woman I've been making excuses for, or a stranger wearing her skin. That night I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I lay there next to her while she scrolled on her phone, the glow lighting her face like she was a painting in a museum. She laughed softly at something on the screen. A real laugh this time. Not the polite one she gives me. I wanted to grab the phone, smash it against the wall, beg her to stop making me the villain of my own life. But I just stayed still, staring at the ceiling, feeling my chest get heavier with every breath. Somewhere around 3 a.m., I got up, went downstairs, and sat at the kitchen table with the note in front of me. I ran my finger over the ink like it would reveal a secret, like maybe the paper itself would whisper something if I stared hard enough. All it whispered was that I was a coward who still wanted to believe her. And yet, under all that shame, there was something else building in me, something I hadn't felt since this whole thing began: resolve. If she wasn't going to end this, I would. If she wasn't going to tell the truth, I'd drag it out into the light. By the time dawn crept through the blinds, I had a plan. On Wednesday, I'd follow her. I'd go to that same place. I'd watch from the corner of the room if I had to. And when she saw me, when she realized I'd stopped being the silent, forgiving husband she could manipulate, I wanted to see her face. Not her fake smile. Not her soft, rehearsed voice. Her real face, the one she's been hiding for months. The one that would finally show me who she's become. And for the first time in weeks, I wasn't just scared. I was ready. I left the house 5 minutes after she did. Not too soon. Not too late. Just enough time to avoid suspicion. I wore a plain gray hoodie, jeans, and sneakers with soft soles so they wouldn't squeak on tile. It was surreal, following your wife like a stranger. The woman whose hair you used to wash in the bathtub, now unaware that her husband was 2 cars behind her at every red light. I didn't know what I expected to feel. Maybe anger. Maybe adrenaline. But mostly, I just felt hollow. Like I was observing someone else's life. Like this was happening to a man who looked like me, but had made slightly different decisions. A version of me who had said no to the marriage. No to the compromise. No to the quiet resentment that had been growing in the corners of our house like mold. She drove across town to an area we almost never visit, the nicer part of the city. The part with wide sidewalks, warm lighting, and the kind of boutique restaurants that make you feel underdressed no matter what you wear. She parked a few blocks down from the main strip. Strategic, not in front of the restaurant. She was practiced, careful. She knew how to stay unseen. But I saw her. I saw everything. I watched from a parked car across the street as she stepped into a place called Luca. Italian. Intimate. Low lighting. The kind of place that whispers affair in every clink of a wine glass. She was wearing the green blouse. That blouse. The one she said didn't fit anymore. The one I hadn't seen since our 5th anniversary. She lied even about that. And then he appeared. Tall. Confident. Younger than me. Maybe by 6 or 7 years. I recognized him instantly. Darren. The man from the photo. The man who barely worked with her. He greeted her with a kiss. Not on the cheek. Not on the hand. On the mouth. Long enough that my stomach twisted, but not long enough for anyone else to raise an eyebrow. This wasn't their first time. There was choreography. Ease. Intimacy. They took a corner booth. She sat on the inside, like she didn't plan to leave early. Like she didn't have a home, or a husband, or a daughter who drew pictures of her parents holding hands just 2 days ago. I didn't move. I didn't cry. I didn't get out of the car. I just watched. They talked. Laughed. Her eyes lit up in a way I hadn't seen in months. Maybe years. She leaned in when he spoke, twirled her hair around her finger. The same nervous tick she had when we were dating. I used to think it was cute. Now it looked like a stranger wearing my wife's skin. An hour passed. I watched every second. They didn't notice me. Why would they? I wasn't her husband anymore. Not really. I was just the guy who picked up groceries and wiped crayon off the walls and kept his mouth shut. The guy who was too gentle to be dangerous and too tired to be a threat. When they got up to leave, I ducked lower in the seat. My hands were shaking, but not with rage. With clarity. With the cold realization that I was finally ready to stop lying to myself. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't struggling with guilt. She had moved on. Slipped into a new life like it was a better-fitting coat. And I was still standing in the cold holding her old one. She walked past my car as they headed down the block toward his. I could have honked. Jumped out. Made a scene. But I didn't. Because I didn't want revenge. I didn't want justice. I wanted truth. And I finally had it. When I got home that night, she was already there. Hair damp. Pajamas on. She looked up from the couch when I walked in and smiled like I was late from the gym. Like she hadn't just kissed another man under dim lights while sipping red wine. I asked her how book club went. She said it was heavy but good. Then she kissed me on the cheek and asked me to lock the door when I came to bed. I nodded, and I smiled back, because something inside me had changed, and she didn't even see it. The next morning felt different. Not because she changed. She hadn't. She still kissed me on the forehead, brewed coffee like she always did, asked if I could pick up the dry cleaning like nothing had happened. Still looked through me like I was furniture she used to love but had grown bored of. But I had changed. I had clarity now. Peace, almost. There was no more guessing, no spinning thoughts, no gaslighting myself into believing I was overreacting. I'd seen it. I'd watched her choose him. And now I was choosing me. I didn't make a scene. I didn't leave a note or throw her clothes on the lawn or post screenshots online. I didn't need fireworks. Quiet is stronger, more honest. Instead, I spent the next 3 days putting together the softest escape plan imaginable. I opened a new bank account, rerouted my paycheck, found a temporary place through an old friend who owed me a favor. Nothing flashy, just enough to breathe. I made arrangements with a lawyer, a kind one, and I made sure our daughter would stay protected no matter what. And then, I waited. I waited until a Friday evening when she told me she had a late meeting. She even looked me in the eyes when she said it. I smiled, said okay, told her I'd handle dinner. She left wearing the same green blouse. By the time she came home, the house was quiet. Lights off. My things gone. Nothing dramatic. Just a note on the kitchen table. One sentence. You were right. One night didn't destroy our family. You did. I took nothing that wasn't mine. I didn't touch her things. I didn't slam any doors. I left with the same silence she tried to bury me under. But mine had weight. Mine had truth. And the best part? I didn't feel broken. I felt free. Part 8. The freedom she never expected. It's been 6 months. I live in a small place now. Nothing fancy. Second-floor apartment, creaky floorboards, weird smell in the hallway I can't quite place. But I've never slept better. I've never breathed deeper. Our daughter stays with me half the week. She's adjusting better than I feared. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. She never asked why mommy cries more now. She just hugs me a little tighter when I drop her off. As for Marcy, she called a few times in the beginning. Left long voicemails filled with confusion and faux sadness. Said things like, I just wish we could have talked more, and you didn't even give us a chance to fix this. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because there was nothing left to say. She chose a version of love that had an expiration date. I chose peace. I still think about her sometimes. Certain songs, certain smells, the way she used to read menus out loud like I couldn't read myself. But those memories don't hurt anymore. They're just echoes. Soft ones. Ones I let pass through me instead of hold on to. I'm dating again. Slowly. Cautiously. I'm not looking to replace anyone. I'm just letting light in again. I go to the gym now. I cook more. I laugh harder. I've stopped apologizing for my softness. It's not weakness. It's proof I showed up fully. And maybe that's the thing that hurt her the most in the end. I didn't leave in rage. I didn't beg. I didn't collapse. I healed. She lost the version of me who loved her without question. And I found the version of me who finally learned to love himself. So to anyone out there who's staying silent, who's holding on, who thinks that forgiveness means surrender, it doesn't. You don't have to yell to leave. Sometimes walking away without a word is the loudest thing you'll ever do. And yes, she was right about one thing. One night didn't destroy our family, but it woke me up. And now I'm finally alive.